Let's tank Mythic Velhari. This fight really tests you as a tank, especially at the end of phase 2. The boss's small hitboxes, having 30% less health when the boss can pretty much one-shot you, and everything else that's going on is really stressful, especially if you don't get your external cooldowns when you call for them. And you need to really be on top of these on this fight, guys, because if you're not, you're just going to get one shot, die, then the other tank's going to get one shot, die, and then it all spirals out of control. So hopefully this guy's going to help you get that kill. Now let's look at phase 1. Nothing has really changed from Heroic to Mythic apart from that the debuff the boss does. It now persists throughout the fight. Once you finish the phase, the debuff does get weaker as the fight goes on, but it does remain till she dies. Tank swap still at 2 to 3 stacks of the healing debuff, Seal of Decay. We normally did the tank swap after the add in phase 1, did 2 Enforcer's Onslaughts. This made taunting a lot easier. And Edict in phase 1 is going to get dropped on you, so you just really need to watch out for the damage at that point. Infernal Tempest can also be a little bit tricky, as you don't want to be moving too much because of the debuff the boss does, and you really don't want to be getting the boss too out of position, so you really need to keep Tempest under control. So at 90% health the boss will spawn at first ad. This ad just needs cleaving down and can be left up even going into phase 2 at 70%. However, I recommend it being killed before the next ad spawns at 60%. The ad needs facing away from both the raid and the other tank, as it does a frontal cone ability called Enforcer's Onslaught that spawns Searing Blaze under anyone getting hit by this thing. As the tank taking the ad in this phase, you can actually dodge this ability entirely by just running through the ad as it's casting Enforcer's Onslaught. This means that there's no little puddle on the tank swap, and it just makes the tank situation and the tank swapping a hell of a lot easier. If you get extra little puddles, it means you can't move into that spot till it's gone away, and it just causes a lot of havoc that's unnecessary. So apart from Enforcer's Onslaught, the only other problem this ad really brings is its small hitbox. As when you tank swapping, the ad has a tendency, because of its small hitbox, to just start running all over the show, flipping round, doing backflips, and you really want Enforcer's Onslaught to not be facing anyone, as if it is, it can cause a wipe and a lot of raid damage. This is one of those fights where it's very easy to do a taunt, but to master it is something entirely different. So the way we combated to do this was to actually do the taunt after Enforcer's Onslaught went out, and the off-tank tanking the ad would just rotate on top of the main tank, and then we'd do the taunt there, and then the main tank who's now got the ad could just rotate back into the off-tank position. One last thing I will add in this last phase is Infernal Tempest. Make sure as the main tank you're having priority on movement, as you don't want the boss to be wiggling out of position. In phase 1 and 2 you want to keep that boss as still as possible so the raid doesn't have to reposition on you moving the boss. Because to get that boss back into position in phase 1 it's possible, but in phase 2 the boss needs to pretty much stay still. As the ad tank during this, just do your best, as you will get comboed with Enforcer's Onslaught at the same time as Tempest is going out. All you need to do is make sure the ad does not face the main tank or the raid. Just keep it facing the same direction at all times and you're good. Doesn't matter if it gets a bit out of position, as you can easily reposition it after he's casting Enforcer's Onslaught by running through the boss, getting his hitbox lined up and then taking a few steps back. Phase 2 starts at 70% health with the ad spawning at 60% health. As I said, you need the first ad to be dying in this time and the raid group getting into position for the next phase. This can be quite a scary phase, as the aura in this phase is your health dropping down constantly. Again, this persists till the end of the fight and gets weaker the longer the fight goes on after the phase finishes. Your natural instinct is normally just to pop a cooldown, but I really recommend not doing this, as it is a waste, as your health's getting dropped anyway. Just save them for near the end of the phase when your health's hitting like the 40% mark, and then you should start thinking about using it. I also recommend every taunt swap when you're taking the boss back to have an external going on like a Vigilance or a Sacrifice. Just like on Heroic and Normal, make sure you haven't got any raid members in the area near you. I think it's 5 yards, because that's extra damage on you and you really don't want to be taking any extra damage, as the boss will start trucking near the end of the phase. To make sure there wasn't any raid members, we did like a triangle formation, us being the head of the triangle. The raid being on another point and the fonts going to the other point, and that should pretty much spread you out enough as to not need to worry about the mechanic. So when you're not tanking the boss, you want to be stacked with the main raid group, not the font group. Make sure you're in the right group, and you just want to tank the ad to help with less damage on the other tank, and you just want to help the interrupt order and just back up interrupts if needed. If you're a prop paladin, you can pretty much get every single heal interrupt. You really want to make sure no heals get off, as it'll make the phase last longer, so it's really down to you and the other tank to get all the interrupts. But you can have an interrupt rotation and it just makes it a lot easier. You also want to try to keep the ad as close to the boss or on top as possible, but if it gets a bit out of position, it's no real big deal. And again, this ad's just going to get like cleaved down while the boss is getting nuked, because it's pretty much all a nuke phase. This, all the damage needs to go into the boss, so your health is as high as possible at the end of the phase. And once the phase is over and the debuff's starting to get weaker, that's when the ad's going to get killed off. Now we're pushing into phase 3. This is where it gets really, really disgusting for you as a tank. It is horrible. It is so stressful. I can't imagine how tanks get through this without having like a nervous breakdown. But we will get through it, guys. So when we're going into this phase, there's a few things you need to know. You need to know all your external cooldowns, and you also need to know where you're going to be going for gravel. And finally, you need to know if you've got a DPS warrior, can they taunt and can they die by the sword without the boss DRing. So first things first, as soon as the last phase ends and you're going into phase 3, you need the raid to stack up on you, the tank. You need a marker on yourself, the raid's going to stack on you, and now we're going to start moving as a group. Every time the boss casts Bulwark of the Tyrant, she's going to leave Despoiled Ground on you and some random raid members. So stacking up drops the Despoiled Ground in one spot. So we're going to start moving to the place where we're going to be getting knocked back into the wall for gravel. And every time Bulwark's coming out, we're just going to move as a group. Nice easy steps. You don't want to overrun it and you don't want to underrun it. It's roughly 3 to 4 Bulwarks before you need to get against the wall for gravel. Now, while this is going on, this is the most dangerous time for you to die as a tank. So we're going to have a set cooldown rotation we're going to use going into this phase. The first one's going to be Ring. This will get rid of the health impediment on you. This will put your health at full and make the last 10 seconds really easy. As soon as this is down, you're going to put a shield wall up. As soon as that's down, the other tank's going to taunt and use their big cooldown. Now, once this is down and they've got 2 healing debuffs, you're going to call for your warrior to taunt and die by the sword. This will give you 8 seconds leeway for your big cooldowns to start coming up. At roughly 2 seconds before his die by the sword ends, he needs to call out for you to taunt back. So you're going to then take the boss back off the tank with a cooldown already running. You should be using a demo shout with like a shield barrier. If it's for some reason down, you're going to call for an external cooldown and make sure you have it pre-up before you taunt the boss, or you're just going to get one shot as soon as you taunt the boss. So by this is all over, you should be up against the wall and waiting for gravel to come in. Roughly at the same time gravel's coming in, the ad will be coming in, which will also knock you back. So you roughly want to try to get them at the same time, as you don't want to be getting knocked all over the room. Once the ad's up, you want to get hunters and rogues to tricks and MD the ad to one of the tanks. It doesn't really matter which one, just make sure it gets onto a tank and doesn't one-shot one of the raid members. Once the ad's in position, just get them on top of each other. All the damage should then be going into the ad, as the boss takes 90% reduced damage, so any damage going onto the boss is wasted. Keep rotating your cooldowns, the external cooldowns. As soon as this ad's dead, it's pretty much a guaranteed kill. Make sure edicts are going out of the raid via portals. And you've pretty much done it, guys. And that's pretty much the fight from a tank perspective.